Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook. I'm here to talk about the premiere of Star Trek Prodigy. The first episode was called Lost and Found Parts 1 and 2. So right away, I found myself liking this show because the very first thing they did was they played the opening tones of the Star Trek theme, which is and I just thought it was great to hear those tones because they don't really use it on Discovery, and they certainly don't use it on Picard, and it's not really in Lower Decks. There's kind of a takeoff on it in the Lower Decks show, but this was just the outright opening few notes of the general Star Trek theme, and I was loving that right away. But let's talk about what happened in the episode. As the episode opens, a being named Dahl from an unknown species works in a Delta Quadrant mine as forced labor, plotting his escape, but he is soon interrogated by a boss bot called Dreadnought about whether he's seen an apparently escaped Medusan in a mech suit, which causes a disruption from a distance as this interrogation is occurring, causing a minor cave-in event, but also causing Dahl's shackle to malfunction and fall off, at which point he makes a break for it in a very dangerous way. He has to keep dodging things that are falling and so forth, and also like guard robots and stuff. And he steals a little ship, and it was just very harrowing. Next, we see a Kazon on the scene, and he delivers a very young cat being, apparently a Cation, to the mine for money, much to the dismay of Gwen, the young lady assisting Dreadnought negotiate the Kazon's payment, as she says that she doesn't like how he's been bringing her super young beings to work in the mine. It turns out that her quite evil father, called Diviner, who seems to live in a giant computer, is the ruler of the operation, who wants to catch the Medusan before it gives the prisoners hope, I guess, of escape, and before it attracts Federation attention. And he wants her to press Dahl for info about the Medusan, because I guess he figures Dahl knows something. And the Medusan, by the way, is called Fugitive Zero, and she says she'll do this interrogation without using any painful methods. She talks with Dahl and tells him that she wants him to find the Medusan, starting in a deep part of the mine, which he says he'll do for passage out of the mine, only to have her tell him that if he doesn't get results under her plan by the end of the day, or the end of the next day, she won't be able to protect him from Dreadnought. Dahl then finds himself paired with a rock being with whom he accidentally discovers a Federation starship, the USS Protostar, an NX craft, after exposing a giant hidden crater in the mine. They board it and activate it and turn on the Universal Translator accidentally, allowing them to communicate where they couldn't before because translators were banned in the mine to keep the various workers from communicating with each other. It turns out that this rock creature is a female named, interestingly enough, Rock Talk. They soon meet the Medusan, who shows up on the ship and explains that since they've been a prisoner there, they've been made to hurt others, and that if they're going to escape, in the ship, they're going to need an engineer. Now, I should probably catch you up on what a Medusan is. A Medusan is a non-corporeal being, a being of energy that, when looked upon with the naked eye of other beings, causes those beings to go insane. We see this happen in an original series episode, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the only time a Medusan has ever been featured in Star Trek. So this is a callback to that episode, and it's a connection to the original series. This particular Medusan managed to build herself a mech suit or a robot body, and they go around going about their business, which at this point is trying to escape in this mech body. They're also telepathic, by the way. So that's the skinny on Medusans. The three then approach a Tellarite engineer named Jonkum, and using reverse psychology, get him to agree to help them and to help himself escape on the ship. Now, this is because Tellarites like to argue. They'll argue anything. So you kind of have to flip the script on them to get them to go your way, make them think they're disagreeing with you. So that was pretty interesting. Tellarites, of course, again, first showed up on the original series in the episode Journey to Babel, or Journey to Babel, and they've been in other iterations of Star Trek since then, most recently on Discovery. The four are then soon interrupted by Dreadnought and Gwen. And when Dal is evasive about what he's been doing and what he knows, what he's found out about the escaped Medusan, Dreadnought grabs him and puts him on a dangerous surface duty to induce him to cooperate. It turns out that the Diviner has only really been operating the mine for the purpose of finding the starship. It's not really for the mining. Gwyn deliberately causes an energy surge, which frees Dal and Rock, only for them to be confronted by Dreadnought and a reluctant Gwen, whom they soon kidnap in order to make a harrowing escape. And they do then make a harrowing escape, with Gwyn tied to the command chair as a hostage. So I'm sort of giving it short shrift there to say they make a harrowing escape. You really have to see it. It's great stuff, actually. There's a scene that evokes some General Grievous action, and during this escape, it becomes very clear that the Diviner does not want the ship damaged, and so ends up kind of letting them escape, much to his own dissatisfaction. But they do, in fact, escape in a quite a daring do type of way. So it's something that you have to see to really grasp. I can't really describe it. Now, upon escaping, this ragtag crew, this hastily assembled crew, if you want to call them that, talk a bit. And when Rock says the word help, some lights start to blink on the ship, some systems start to power up, and a Starfleet training hologram in the form of Catherine Janeway comes online. And that's just about where the episode ends. And I have to tell you that I very much enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed the premiere of this show very much. First of all, it's gorgeous. The animation is gorgeous. The music is fantastic. It's very evocative of Star Trek. You know, not only the opening theme, but the other music that they use. The Protostar is a beautiful ship, not only outside, but inside, so far as what we've seen. And it was just great to see this ship in action. There are some really great moments where the ship is entering and exiting different parts of the mine as they're trying to get out. And some of these shots are just breathtaking. And the ones that aren't breathtaking are massively cool. So it was just really great to see how they took the time to make the audience appreciate that this is indeed a Star Trek show, even though it's not a Starfleet crew. And it was just great to see them give the fans a couple of sort of what I would call hero shot moments of the ship that just take your breath away and choke you up and make you feel very connected to it as a Star Trek project. Of course, when Janeway comes online, it's just magnificent, and they handled it fantastically. And I can't lie, I choked up at more than one part of this episode. Some of the shots of the ship and the way it was moving, you know, through the mine, and, you know, definitely when Janeway came online. So it was just a great feeling to watch this episode from a Star Trek perspective. From a non-Star Trek perspective, they did a lot of other things that were fantastic. They've given us a cast of characters that are, first of all, different from each other in a way that's going to make the storytelling pretty cool, I think, and which is going to make character development pretty cool. Characters that we don't know anything about because we've not seen them before. We've seen the Medusan and we've seen Tellarites, but we've not seen whatever species Dal is. We've not seen whatever species Rock is before that I'm aware of. We've never had a Medusan that talks. So this is going to be, I think, pretty cool. Now, some of the aspects of it are a little bit kiddish, a little bit child level. Some of the dialogue will remind you of a children's show. Some of the behavior of some of the characters will remind you that you're watching a show aimed at children. But it isn't a kiddie show, if you know what I mean. They've got a bunch of darkness in this, in the form of Dreadnought and the Diviner. And they've got a character with, I think, a lot of heart, who is also wrestling with a certain amount of guilt and a certain amount of unsureness about herself, in the form of Gwyn. And they've set a tone already that causes the audience to feel something, to find her sympathetic, if also flawed. And the main character, Doll, or the first character we see anyway, who seems to be kind of the main character, is very likable. And they have an established relationship already, which is going to be interesting. She being his jailer, basically, but also kind of his friend. So I think that relationship is going to be very interesting. There is, of course, the character of Murph, which is kind of like a purpley, gooey thing that doesn't speak in any language that we would understand, and doesn't seem to be able to access the translator. So that's going to be interesting. But this episode was just fantastic. And I think that it's the best episode of Star Trek I've seen since the best episode of Enterprise, which is probably the premiere of season 1. So I am greatly looking forward to the remaining 9 episodes, and I think you guys should all check it out, and I think you will like it as much as I did if you are a Star Trek fan. But that's all I have to say for now. I'll be back with a review of episode 2 once it airs. Until then, I wish you all peace and long life.